Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Timeless Musings and this is the 2026 Yes, No, or Maybe reading series. In this series, I will be going over 12 months worth of reading, going through all the books that I've read in the previous month, who they're by, and telling you whether I would recommend them with a yes, no, or maybe. The catch here is that I will also be giving you reasons why I recommend or don't recommend these, as well as who I might recommend these for. The series is an answer to a question that I've long wondered about the yes, no, or maybe, which is why. Why do certain content creators recommend a book? Why do they hate books, etc.? Trying to find the answers and hopefully get some more personalized reading suggestions for books that maybe I wouldn't have thought to check out before. In this series, as I said, I will be going monthly to look at all the books that I've read in the previous month. The disclaimer that I will give you at the beginning here is these are just my opinions. You may love these books, you may hate these books. They are for you to determine. This is just whether I would recommend them based on my experience reading. Another obligatory disclaimer, it is not necessarily normal to read this amount of books, but I've had a lot of free time this year and I've spent all of it reading and listening to audiobooks and picking up physical books. So, with all those disclaimers out of the way, let's get into the next month of the 2026 Reading Challenge with another handful of books, who they're by, and whether I would tell you to read them yes, no, or maybe. My first read in March was actually a librarian's recommendation to me, and that was Slippery Creatures by KJ Charles. And I'm giving this one a maybe. For me personally, I've read a couple different KJ Charles books now, and I just haven't really vibed with the writing style. In this book specifically, I both felt like it was too repetitive and also too short. What I mean is, it felt like we were rehashing a lot of the same points, like the robbery. It kept happening. It was just like, okay, I get the point, kind of thing. But then the actual really interesting scenes seem to go by way too quick, so I just don't think that the writing style of KJ Charles is for me at all. But I do recommend this if you like historical romance, mysteries, that kind of thing. This is also I think it happened after World War II. So this is kind of a minority rating. I didn't like it, but a lot of people do, so you should probably give it a try. Next up in the list is Virgins. This is a prequel to the Outlander series. I read this before reading the rest of the Outlander series because of the way it was organized on Goodreads. I don't know if I was meant to or not. This one I'm going to give a no. I didn't like this, and it's put me off the rest of the Outlander series. I've heard Outlander is good. I do want to read it, but I haven't actually gone back and picked up any of the other books after reading this because I just did not like this at all. I get that it's like a prequel, so I don't expect it to explain everything. That's what the rest of the series is for. So that's not the issue I had with it. But I didn't like the writing style. I don't mind like European literature. I don't mind historical fiction. I love historical fiction. But I just don't think that the writing style was for me, and it's kind of put me in a bit of an Outlander slump. So at this time, I'm unsure if I'll continue the rest of the series. Let me know if it's worth continuing the rest of the series, and then maybe I'll consider it. But the prequel, I would say no. Moving on to another book that I would say don't read or I would not recommend. This is YN by Esther Yi. I DNF'd this at chapter 6. I could not stand this book at all. I found it just so pretentious and annoying. It wasn't even like pretentious where it's like, okay, this is a really cool artistic writing style. This book was just annoying. I didn't like it. And then also, there's a scene where one of the guys in the group eats the other guy's cuticles. I genuinely have never been so disgusted. It was part of my reason to DNF. I have a weird thing about nails. I can't be doing with that. It was just, I don't understand what the point of this book was. I saw Frankie Shelf actually talked about this book, and it's so funny because I had similar reactions. I hated this book. This is a no from me. Next up is Paper Cut by Rachel Taff. This is a maybe. This book features on a woman's experience in a cult and kind of the aftermath of like the 20th anniversary of her leaving or writing a book about the cult. I think other books have done cults better, if I'm honest with you. The twists in this book, since this is a thriller, they were good, but I never felt like we actually went deeper than that. It felt like everything that we were exploring about the cult was very surface level. I came away from the book not only wanting to have gone more into the cult and the impacts that had on her, but also I wanted more out of the twists. The twists were alright, but I think that had we gone deeper within the book itself, the book would be so much better. The thrillers and the twists would be better. So this is a maybe, not a complete miss, but I didn't love it. Next up, we have an audiobook I listened to. This book is Suspicion, and I'm actually going to go out of my way and give this a no. I didn't like this as a thriller. I think that it required me to suspend disbelief too much. It's a bit like I said earlier in the series, that if you're writing a realistic thriller, I want one part of it at least to be realistic, and a lot of this didn't, particularly with the reporters. I understand that, like, reporters have to get to the bottom of a case, but the way that, like, the lawyers were just straight up talking about everything with the reporters was ridiculous to me. The twist, though, was pretty good. I will give it that. And then I also did enjoy the audiobook. I thought the narrator did a really good job. But on the whole, if I had read this as an ebook, for example, it would still be a no. So it didn't work for me, and I'm gonna go with no. Next up is a book that I think is considered a classic, and that is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I'm actually going to give this a yes, but I only gave it 3 stars. I think that this is kind of an imperative read. It's very fun, very lighthearted to read. This is great if you're just looking for like a quick little wholesome, quite easily accessible sci-fi fantasy thing, or sci-fi fantasy read, sorry. I think this book is really good. I think reading it helps you understand different pop culture references. Like, I finally understand So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. This is just a very lighthearted, fun book. Like I said, I only gave it 3 stars, but that's still a good rate. It doesn't mean I hated it. It was just very okay, I guess. But I had a lot of fun reading it, and that is kind of what really stands out to me all these months on. So I would say, yeah, give this one a try. Next up is How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates, and this book is a no from me. First of all, I think this book just goes on way too long. The longer that this went on, the less I liked it. Another thing I noticed, the age ambiguity in this book is so weird. All of these characters are at least in their 20s, I think late 20s, but on some parts of the book, sorry, you would be like, okay, they're acting like teenagers. Then on other parts, it'd be like, okay, yeah, this is probably how a late 20s would act. And then it would be like, okay, why are we now acting like we're in our 80s? It really threw me off. I don't think the characters were very well developed. On the plus side, though, I do think that this would make a great film. It's kind of like like a satire almost of the kind of horror films and the Final Girl and all that. It'd make a great film, but it didn't make a great book. Moving on to yet another book about women's group homes. This is Where the Girls Were, and this is a yes. I loved this book. I think it's a really great book about women's group homes. This was obviously taking place in like the 50s and 60s, or is it 50s and 60s or 60s or 70s? Around that time. But it was about these homes where they would send women who were pregnant out of wedlock so that they wouldn't scandalize the family. And it was a really, really good story. I didn't realize that this kind of thing happened. It's also very sad. It stays with you long. Like, I haven't forgotten anything that happened in the book. It's a very powerful story. There's literally nothing that I didn't like about this book. So this book is getting a yes from me. Next up, we have book 2 in the Good Guide to Misconduct series. This book is The Lady Plays with Fire by Susanna Craig. This is brilliant. This is my favorite series. This is an automatic yes, because I think the whole series, except for the prequel, is a yes. This, for me, wasn't as good as book 1, but I think that's because book 1 was so brilliant, and I loved Daphne and Miles. This is still great. This one is about a playwright and the woman that works for the Journal who's writing all of these reviews on his plays, and it's still really good. I think like I said, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, even though book 1 was a 5-star, so it's very good. I highly recommend it. Also, this is good if you just want light spice. There's only a couple of spice scenes. They're spread very far apart throughout the plot, so this is definitely a good one that I would recommend checking out. Staying with historical fiction, next up we're looking at A Crown of Stars. This is a maybe. I think that this book was really overwritten. It was one of those things where, you know, if everything that was being described was beautiful, then nothing is beautiful kind of thing. That was what I noticed. There was a huge overuse of adjectives in this book. And as a historical fiction fan, somebody who reads historical fiction all the time, I didn't love this one. However, I would say you may want to give it a go if you like biographical fiction. This is based off of a real actress and obviously an actual movie, the actual sinking of the Lusitania. So it's still a good book, it just wasn't for me. Next up, we're taking a look at The Rules Upheld by No One, and this is actually a no. I think I originally gave it a maybe, but I changed my mind in the middle of filming. I did make a note to be a nun kissing another nun. Spoiler alert for the book. I'm filming this during Pride Month, by the way. Happy Pride. I think that this book is fine. I mean, I didn't love it. I wouldn't recommend it. It got really boring once we left the nunnery, if I'm honest. The nunnery part was really interesting because I don't think anybody's really approached that. But then after that, where we saw, you know, women who work the streets, it really lost a lot of that charm and that appeal. I think that there are better books that cover these kinds of subjects, and specifically that deal with things like religious trauma, and I just don't think that this is one you should waste your time on. So next on the list is Powerless, and this one is a no. Here is why. I enjoyed the book, I gave it 4 stars, but when I went to look at the rest of the series, I saw that allegedly Lauren Roberts had plagiarized the book from a different series. I think it's the Red Queen series, allegedly. And I, again, no, it's all alleged. I'm not making any claims here, but I don't even want to continue on with a series that has those kind of rumors, even if they are just allegedly. I can't, as an artist, tell you in good faith to go read this because plagiarism is never okay. So for that, I'm going to give this a no. I'm actually going to even be DNFing the series myself, and I'm not going to be recirculating my copy of Powerless. It'll stay in my library, and instead I will check out Red Queen, which is what it is allegedly plagiarized from. So next up we are looking at a series. This is the Game Changer series by Rachel Reed. Yes, I did just start reading this because I saw the show, but no, I actually never went on to watch the show. Here is why I'm giving this a maybe. I am not a sports person at all, okay? I'm also not really a romance person, so why on earth I was like, yeah, let me read this entire hockey romance series is crazy work to me. This is a maybe. It's very well written, and the romance is very cute. It's not like I have anything against the book at all. I just really don't like hockey. Well, to be fair, I don't really like any sport, but I am especially not a hockey person, and I did read this literally just because I saw the trailers for the series. So I definitely recommend checking this out if you are looking for a cute romance, particularly if you like hockey. I myself am going to be finishing the series. It's just more that I have to give myself hockey breaks because I don't like hockey. Next up, we're on a book I don't even remember reading, and I think it's because I only read like a couple pages, but this is The Monroe Girls. This is a no from me. I DNF'd this at chapter 6. I was so bored reading it. I think chapter 6 was only like 13 pages into the book. It's not a very long book at all, but I could not take it. The synopsis sounds so interesting, but I could just tell by chapter 6 that the writing style wasn't for me. I was bored by the pacing of it. I knew I wouldn't be able to hold out for a whole book. The one thing I will say though, the first line in this book, spectacular. It's one of those ones where you read the first line, you're like, this is going to be a great read. And then I got to chapter 6 and I was like, oh no, I'm stuck. So yeah, I don't remember this one because I DNF'd it, but I don't recommend it because I was bored. Next on the list is To Cage a Wild Bird by Brooke Fast. This is a maybe. I think I gave this a 4 star, or like a 3.5 star, that kind of thing. I loved it. I really enjoyed this. If you grew up and you were like a Hunger Games Divergent kid, I highly recommend this book, okay? Because I was a Hunger Games and Divergent kid, and I ate this book up. It's more dystopian sci-fi than fantasy. I was a little confused when I picked it up because I was like, well, there's not really any like magical powers. It's more sci-fi based. So I would kind of ignore the fantasy part and focus more on sci-fi. If you don't like sci-fi dystopias, this is probably going to be a miss. But I was surprised actually by how much this kind of reminded me of Hunger Games. It's like Hunger Games, except it's even more anti-capitalistic, and it also scares me that it could be very real. So definitely recommend checking this out if you are a Hunger Games Divergent kid, and I can't wait for book 2. So next up is My Dark Vanessa, and this is one, again, where I'm telling you, urging you to check your trigger warnings. This is a maybe because of those triggers. I am not somebody who has a lot of trigger warnings, but I found this book incredibly difficult to get through. Only read this if you are in a state of mind and are not triggered by the content. I do think that this book is very important for what it does. I think that stories that highlight and show not only, assault, but also then the survivorhood, I like there's no such thing as a perfect victim, and I think that was really put on display here in My Dark Vanessa, which I really appreciated. I enjoyed reading about that, or enjoyed is the wrong word. I appreciated what the book did. But I do think you can only read this if you're in a specific state of mind. I haven't even fully gone through and processed the book yet, so this is a maybe with heavy trigger warnings. Next up we have an anthology of short stories. This is I Could Be Famous, and this is a no from me. I think the synopsis led me to think that this book was different than it was. It's not that the book doesn't revolve around the cases of fame, but it doesn't do so in, I think, the way that the synopsis really promised. This is also a collection where I disliked more stories than I liked, and specifically, I continued to notice that the ending of each story was terribly abrupt. It was almost like the author had kind of sat there and really fleshed out the rest of the stories. Even if I didn't enjoy them, they were fleshed out, but then was like, oh no, I only have 20 words to end it, and had to figure out a way to end it in 20 words. I think that the end of the stories didn't do justice to the ones that were good, but I also don't think that this is one I would recommend because I didn't like most of these. Next up is Hunchback. This I would give a yes, but I would also again encourage you to check trigger warnings if you have issues with certain adult content. This is a very important story on disability and the way that we perceive people who are disabled. It really forces you to sit with maybe some of the internalized ableism that we all have within society, particularly if you're not disabled. I think that this is a very good book. I didn't like all of it, I'll be honest. I didn't understand the ending, but I found the book as a whole very moving. I picked this up actually on a recommendation from the Weird Girl Literature subreddit, and I'm so glad I did because, like I said, even if I didn't enjoy all the parts of the story, I really appreciated what the story did, and it's a story that really stays with you. You think about it long after, so I would definitely recommend Hunchback. finally, we're looking at 200 Monas. This is a no. This is a huge disappointment. I put this on hold back when it first was announced to be published. I was so excited to read it, but it was not good. First of all, the editing of this book was atrocious. It's one of those books where you read it and you're sitting there thinking, surely this didn't go through a proofreader, because I don't think anybody read this book. It was that badly edited. And then this is a weird point, but I had to bring it up. This book seems to be very progressive in the comments it makes. I appreciate a lot of the points it makes. It feels very feminist, very progressive, but a lot of the way the RV speaks feels very anti-feminist. It's not, I don't mean that from a perspective of an unreliable narrator or an imperfect character. I don't mind that at all, okay? I literally read books about women who are unhinged. But it was just more, the quotes almost made me uncomfortable, because it was like, I don't think that we talk about people like that anymore, and we shouldn't talk about people like that. So this is a no. I would skip this one and honestly pick up anything else. But that wraps up our 2026 March Yes, No, or Maybe. I hope you're enjoying this series. I hope you enjoyed this part. I had a great time filming this and talking about these. If you did enjoy, please do remember to like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel. And leave your thoughts down below. Share some recommendations. Share your opinions on my opinions. Let me know what you thought. Thank you for checking this out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.